In this lesson, we learn how to reconcile your bank accounts in QuickBooks Online. But before I go there and show you how to actually do it through your QuickBooks, I want to explain to you why it's so important. Now, I do have a news and updates section on the Learn website. So if you go to learn.qbbs.com.au, which is where you found my lessons, under news and updates, I have a great blog on how to reconcile your bank accounts. So let's have a look at this so I can explain it to you in detail why it's important. Now, this is one of the main issues that I see when I rescue a client. They've never reconciled their bank account. To me, that shows a couple of things: that we don't know whether the actual information is accurate in QuickBooks Online. How do we know that every transaction has actually come into QuickBooks via the bank feeds? Have you entered in a manual transaction accidentally twice? These are all the things that you need to be aware of that can happen. And unless you do a bank reconciliation, and I would suggest you do it monthly, if you don't do your bank reconciliation, how can you confirm that your figures are accurate? That's what I always say. So here's how I explain it to you. When you enter in your transactions into QuickBooks Online, such an expense, making a payment against your bill, a deposit, or any payments against your customer invoices such as sales receipts, each one of these transactions needs to be checked and matched to your bank records on your bank statement. So of course, with your bank feeds, it's going to mirror image what is in your bank statement, and that is what we're looking for. And that process is actually called reconciling. Now, in QuickBooks Online, it is really easy to do as long as you follow the correct procedure of processing your bank feeds in the QuickBooks Banking Center. A couple of things I need to point out to you. So if you do not take the time to reconcile correctly, you may find that you have missed some really important transactions, that they've either not been entered or they've been entered twice, and that could cause some serious discrepancies in your file. How are they going to affect you? Well, one, it's going to affect your financials, because how accurate are they? How are you going to make those important decisions when you're looking at your profit and loss and something hasn't been entered, or it's actually been entered twice? Or instead of actually sending the payroll to your payroll clearing account, it's actually gone to your bank account, and therefore adding in another wage amount to your profit and loss. And these are the things that I teach you in the financial section in our lesson coming up at 9.0, financials, understanding your financials and other reports. So please be careful. The other thing that will affect you, and you really don't want this to affect you whatsoever, is your BAS. You may find that you may be paying more in your GST, or you could have actually underestimated your transactions, and then you might owe more to the ATO when your financials are either audited by your accountant at the end of the year for the tax return, or you have a BAS agent that helps you along the way. The other thing that it will affect is your tax return, as we've mentioned. If you're doubling up on transactions, or if you've missed out on transactions, that's really going to affect your tax return, isn't it? And that is why it's really important that you do your bank reconciliation, and I suggest again on a monthly basis. So let's take a look at this and see how we actually do it. Okay, so we are in our banking screen. We've done our processing, we've done our transactions, we've matched, we've added in the previous lessons. So we know how to do those. Now, the first thing you need to check, just make sure that in your review section that there is no transactions that you need to process, because this is one of the other reasons why I see your inaccurate transactions in QuickBooks. Because don't forget, in the review section, if you've got transactions still sitting under your review section, it is not going to affect your financials. It is not going to affect your GST until you either match or add, and then that transaction will be found in the categorized transaction. So all these transactions that we have in categorized, they have affected our financials and they are now sitting in QuickBooks. So the next step that we need to do, once we have assured ourselves that there's no any more tractions that we need to process for that particular month, let's take a look and see how we process an actual bank reconciliation. It is quite easy, because if you're entering in your transactions from your QuickBooks banking center that we see here at the moment, and they're coming in from the bank one by one, and you're processing them one by one, guess what? You should have accurate data. Yeah, so let's take a look. So from the cogs wheel, which is our administration area, under tools, let's click on reconcile. When you're in the reconcile an account screen, you have the choice of reconciling any bank account or credit card, or if you have loan accounts. So please don't forget, if you've got a loan account from the bank, don't forget you'll have interest that you need to add into your account. Those we don't actually do through a bank feed. Those we actually process manually. And I do have a lesson coming up in the advanced section of processing loans and picking up interest charges. So once that is sitting in our banking reconcile area, you can actually go ahead and reconcile it. At the moment, we don't have any loans as such in our file, of course. So at the moment, let's take a look at Westpac business account. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It actually tells me that the last time we balanced this statement, last time we reconciled to this statement was the 31st of March 2021. So guess what? We are going to process now a reconciliation for the whole entire month of April. In our previous lesson, we looked at the bank transactions we allocated, and we had transactions in April. So now it's time to reconcile and see how accurate we are. Now these figures, the beginning balance and end balance, will come from your bank statement. So I do need you each month to check your bank statement balances. Now there's a few good reasons why you need to do that, and that is in case of that fraud that we spoke about. Keep an eye on your transactions. This is where I pick up a lot of fraud of money going out. And it's you know, someone coming in, and I don't know how they do fraud, but it's beyond my understanding why someone would even bother. But I actually did pick up a client that he had, there was about 3 little amounts, about $5, $6, $10, and then all of a sudden, bam, he had $1,000 and then $2,000. And that's how we picked it up, because we reconcile our clients' bank accounts on a monthly basis. So please, if there's anything you're going to take away from these lessons, remember to do your bank reconciling. So let's go ahead and process our first bank reconciliation together. So the beginning balance on the 1st of April will be $14.68. Now the end balance on our bank statement for this particular bank account is $2,763.78. The end date is on the 30th of April, because that is what I see from my bank statement. That's where I'm getting these figures from. Okay, let's click Start Reconciling. Guess what, guys? I've reconciled. See this? I have 0 difference. We did it. That's how quick and easy it is, guys. And it doesn't take long, does it? So once I click Finish Now, we've reconciled for the whole entire month. See how easy that was? Now, this is the easy part, because you've reconciled accurately as per my instructions, and also you've processed all your transactions as per my instructions, clicking in each row and making sure it goes to the right spot in our balance sheet and our profit and loss. There are occasions, however, where you might make a mistake, or dare I say this, occasionally there might be a little bit of a glitch coming through from the bank feeds from your bank to QuickBooks. and you might have a day missing, or you might have a duplication of a day. And that is why this is really important, because if we actually process those transactions that doubled up, or if we didn't process a whole day that didn't come through, guess what? Our balance in QuickBooks will be incorrect. Yeah? Because over here we have the statement balance that we entered in. And this is the balance we have that we've processed from the, let me explain this to you, from the beginning balance of the month was $14.68. Now, all the payments that we had, and you can see all the payments in this column here, yeah? All those payments that we processed totaled $584.90. Now, all the deposits that we processed coming into our bank is $85.90. So of course the difference between the payments going out, money coming in, the balance that we had in our bank account on the 1st of April will be the difference, and that equals our cleared balance, our balance at the end of that period. And that equals our balance that we have in, that we wrote down in from our statement, I should say. If there is a discrepancy, you will need to try to work out why you've got a discrepancy. Now, I do take up a lesson in the advanced lessons where I deep dive into what can go wrong. There are times, however, where you might strike a problem and you may need help. Don't forget, through my business, Quick Business Bookkeeping Solutions, I do offer support, and you can purchase that support in 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hourly blocks. So this is what you're looking for, a zero difference. Let me just untick one transaction and I'll show you what happens. Take a look at that difference. Now I'm going to undo a deposit, so take a look at that deposit as well. So I've undone that $850, and now it's telling us that we are out $850. Our deposits has actually reduced. So you can see what happens if you haven't entered in something correctly or it's coming twice. It is going to affect your figure. So let me select that once again, and we're done. That's how easy it is, if you're doing it correctly, of course. Now from the tab drop down, we have closed without saving, which means that we'll have to, it'll close and it won't save what we've done. So next time we go in to do a bank reconciliation, we've got to do that all over again. You also have the option of saving for later. If you were out and you thought, okay, let me come back and have a look at this later on, you can save it for later. Or guess what? We've got the finish now button, which means we are finished, we are zero, there is no difference. Let's complete this reconciliation now. Done. You've reconciled the account. And there you go. And now in our reconciliation area, it actually says the last statement ending date was the 30th of April, and that was our balance, $2,763.78, which matches your bank statement. Easy.